A step parenting expert, Chris Burns.
Women's mindset coach and stepmom, Chris Burns.
Welcome to the Step Parent Podcast. Welcome back to the Step Parent Podcast. If you're new here, thank you for being here. Make sure that you hit follow so that you don't miss future episodes. This podcast exists to speak into the realities of blended families that are often silenced, misunderstood, or deliberately avoided. Today's episode is heavy. It's necessary, but it is heavy. And it's long overdue on this podcast. We're talking about parental alienation, what it actually looks like, what it does to children, parents, and step-parents, and what you can do for yourself if you are living inside it. I also want to say this really clearly before we go any further. I am not speaking from theory alone. I am on the personal side of this. I know good men who have lost their children at the hands of parental alienation. Men who showed up, men who tried to stay regulated, men who were slowly erased by mothers unwilling or unable to face their own emotional pain. And this episode, let me be clear, this episode is not about attacking women. It is about naming behavior, and behavior doesn't have a gender, but it does have consequence. And it's important that we start speaking openly about this topic. So let's dive in. Parental alienation is not always loud. It is often subtle. Incremental, it is psychological. It doesn't usually start with a child saying or voicing, I don't want to see my dad anymore, or my mum. Primarily this is in the case of the biological father and the biological mother. It starts with tone, with suggestion, with emotional leakage. It looks like a woman saying to the child, your dad doesn't really care. He didn't call because he chooses not to. I don't know why he does this to you. You don't have to go if you don't want to. It looks like sharing adult emotional information with a child and you calling it being honest with the kids. It looks like positioning yourself as the safe parent and the other parent as unsafe, unreliable, or harmful. It looks like encouraging loyalty to one household at the expense of the other. And here's the part that makes this so ridiculous. The child doesn't experience it as a manipulation. They experience it as protection. Children want to belong. They want safety. They want emotional alignment. So they adapt. They mirror the emotions of the parent that they depend on the most. They absorb the narrative they hear on repeat and they learn who they're allowed to love and who they're not allowed to love. Parental alienation puts a child in an impossible position. Love one parent and you portray the other, or love both and risk emotional punishment. Children almost always choose the path of least resistance and least emotional danger. That is natural for them. That path is alignment with the parent who is most emotionally dominant. And this is where I want to be very clear. Parental alienation is not always intentional, but it is always damaging. Many parents engaging in alienating behavior genuinely believe that they are protecting their child. What they are actually doing is outsourcing their unresolved emotions onto their child. Anger, grief, sadness, guilt, fear, rejection, resentment, the list goes on. Shame being a massive one as well. There's a loss of control that they're going through and they are trying to regain control with the only thing that they can control, which is the child, not the other parent anymore. So instead of processing those emotions internally or with adult support, they leak into the child and the parent relationship and the child becomes the regulator. Now let's talk about what this does to fathers and to step parents, particularly stepmoms, right? For that example. For fathers, parental alienation is one of the most psychological, devastating experiences a man can go through. It is ambiguous loss. There is no death. There is no closure. There is just fucking absence in your life. Men watch their children drift further and further away by being told that there's nothing that they can do. They're painted as the problem while trying to stay calm, reasonable, and regulated. And eventually, many men break. Not because they are weak, but because sustained grief without resolution is unbearable. Some men keep fighting and lose everything, maybe financially, and then they're stuck in resentment and blame. Some pull back to survive, i.e., yes, you can have full control of care and I'll pay full child support fees. Some collapse internally while maintaining and composing their exterior to the world. Whatever happens, they're judged. whatever happens, you as a man feels judged, whichever option you decide to go with. And for step parents, especially the stepmoms, parental alienation creates chronic instability. You're watching someone you love lose their child in slow motion. You're supporting a partner through grief that you can't fix. You're managing children who may suddenly reject you without an explanation, and you're often blamed simply for existing. This dynamic eats relationships alive. We are interrupting this episode for a quick ad break or a cheeky plug because we can. If you're navigating a blended family where conflict, emotional manipulation, or alienation is present and you feel like you're losing yourself to cope, I want to tell you about the Step Parent Standard. This course is for step parents who need grounding, clarity, emotional regulation, and boundaries in high conflict dynamics. It's a decade of lived experience and professional training in one space. Lifetime access for $299. This isn't about fixing the other parent, it's about stabilizing yourself. Okay, let's get back to today's episode. Now, I want to say something that might be really uncomfortable. Parental alienation thrives in environments where unprocessed emotion is rewarded. Okay, when anger is validated but accountability is avoided, when victimhood becomes a part of an identity, when children are positioned as emotional allies. And I have personally witnessed good men going through similar scenarios where these men are losing access to their children because another parent refuses to face their own emotional pain. And that is the tragedy of this dynamic. Children don't lose a parent because that parent didn't love them. They lose a parent because someone else couldn't regulate themselves. Now, if you are in parental alienation, I want you to shift to what you actually can do. Because here's the hard truth. You can't control an alienating parent. You can't force insight. You can't argue your way back into a child's heart. But you are not powerless. What you can do if you are currently in the heart of parental alienation, first, stay regulated. Alienation feeds on emotional reactions. Regulation is not weakness, it is a strategy. Second, document everything. Don't vent. No nasty texts, no abusive messages, no anything in writing. Keep records of everything that's happening to you, not everything that you're giving back, right? You don't want that for revenge. You need it for clarity. Third, do not emotionally counter-program. Do not badmouth the other parent. Children need one emotionally clean adult in their life, even if that's not someone that can be in their life for X amount of time, few years. You are the solid, you are the stable, you are the safe space, and honor yourself in that. Don't stoop to someone's level of bad-mouthing them because you're hurting. Process your grief. This is real loss. Denying that only compounds the pain. Now, I want to speak directly to the kids caught up in this. Even if they never hear this episode, maybe they will, maybe they won't. One day, clarity often comes. Not always, but often. And when it does, kids remember who stayed calm. You remember who didn't manipulate. You remember who doesn't demand loyalty. You remember who is steady. You remember whose integrity has been with you the entire way and said, I'm here when you're ready. I've got you when you're ready. I forgive you when you're ready. If you are a man listening to this and this is you living in your reality right now, I want you to hear this very clearly as well. You are not invisible, you are not crazy, and you are not failing. You are standing in one of the hardest emotional positions a human can possibly be in. And to any of the biological parents who might recognize themselves in this behavior, I want you to hear this clearly. Your child is not your therapist, your child is not your ally, and your child should never be asked to carry your pain. Your child is not responsible for making sure you don't feel lonely when they aren't with you, for making sure that you don't feel sad when they can't talk to you. Your child is not responsible for your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. They are on you. And if you need to heal, go and do the fucking work and stop projecting your pain onto your child. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please drop a comment with what landed for you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being in your truth and staying in your truth. And thank you for protecting your children by being the adult and operating from a place where you want to do better and you want to do more. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here if you didn't. I will see you next week.